The Federal Drug Enforcement Administration says a week-long cartel crackdown led to nearly 200 arrests just in New England. The DEA says they were all members of the Sinaloa Cartel, the largest drug cartel in the world.
4 a.m. Chicago, Illinois. The city known as the Crossroads of America was buried in the quiet hours before dawn. The skyscrapers stood silent against the wind coming off Lake Michigan. To the delivery drivers and early shift workers, the streets looked empty, but they weren't. In the shadows of the industrial rail yards and beneath the overpasses of the interstate, a massive mobilization was underway. It wasn't just a local police raid. It was the mobilization of an army. Unmarked vans, tactical armored trucks, and surveillance units from the FBI, ICE, and the DEA were moving in perfect synchronization. And this wasn't happening just in Chicago. At that exact moment, across 21 other major metropolitan zones, from the ports of Long Beach to the suburbs of New York, thousands of federal agents were initiating the largest offensive against organized crime in modern American history. The code name for the operation was simple: the Surge. The target was not a street gang. It was a multinational superpower, the Sinaloa and CJNG cartels. For years, they had operated with impunity, turning American cities into logistics hubs for their poison. But on this morning, the rules of engagement had changed. The order from the highest levels of government was clear: stop the drugs, destroy the networks, and bring those responsible to justice. If you support the brave men and women of ICA and the FBI who risk their lives to defend our nation from these foreign threats, hit the like button and comment IA below. Let's show them we stand with them. For decades, Chicago has been the beating heart of the cartel's distribution network. It is the central artery where fentanyl and meth arrive from the border, are broken down, and then are pumped into the veins of the entire East Coast.
In an overnight ambush on Monday, the Army has given the Sinaloa cartel one of its biggest defeats in recent months.
The cartels treated this city like their own corporate headquarters. They had supply chains, accountants, logistics managers, and armed enforcers who acted as a private police force. But the most dangerous part of their operation wasn't the drugs. It was their invisibility. They hid in plain sight. They didn't just buy warehouses. They bought protection. Intelligence reports leading up to the surge revealed a terrifying reality. The enemy wasn't just climbing the $200 million empire over a wall. The enemy was already inside. The cartels had evolved. They weren't just bribing criminals. They were infiltrating the very institutions sworn to stop them. As the convoys reached their targets, massive distribution centers disguised as legitimate trucking companies. The agents knew they were walking into a war zone, but they also knew something else. Some of the people they were coming to arrest weren't wearing cartel colors. They were wearing badges. The betrayal ran deep. Sheriffs, border inspectors, and federal officers had sold their loyalty for cartel cash. They had turned the shield of law enforcement into a sword for the enemy. As the first breach charges detonated against the steel doors of a warehouse in Chicago's industrial district, the war on drugs fundamentally changed. It was no longer a policing action. It was a purge. The silence of the morning was shattered by the sound of flashbangs and the shouting of federal agents. Federal agents, get down. The raid had begun. And for the first time in years, the Sinaloa cartel was about to feel fear. The scale of what agents found inside those Chicago warehouses was beyond anything seen in previous operations. It wasn't just bags of drugs hidden in tires. It was an industrial assembly line of death. When agents breached the primary logistics hub near the rail yards, they found the proof of how the cartels had transformed. Behind false steel walls and inside shipping containers labeled as industrial cleaning supplies, they uncovered the stockpile. The seizure logs paint a terrifying picture. In this operation alone, federal teams seized a staggering 8,818 pounds of fentanyl. To put that into perspective, just 2 milligrams can stop a human heart. What sat in that warehouse was enough potential lethal doses to kill the entire population of the United States multiple times over. But it wasn't just the drugs, it was the money. Agents discovered pallets of vacuum-sealed cash, cryptocurrency hardware wallets, and gold bars.
The DEA says this seizure is connected to 6 states and Mexico, all linked to targeting the Sinaloa cartel, which the Trump administration recently classified as a terrorist organization.
The total value of assets seized in this synchronized strike exceeded $200 million. This was the war chest of the Sinaloa and CJNG cartels. Funds were used to bribe officials, buy military-grade weapons, and secure the supply chain. And then came the arrests. The coordination of the surge resulted in 5,000 suspects being taken into custody within months. These weren't just low-level dealers on street corners. These were the logistics managers, the chemists, the accountants, and the enforcers. The entire middle management of the cartel's American infrastructure was decimated overnight. This discovery revealed that the cartels are no longer the war supply chain, exposed acting like street gangs. They are functioning like multinational corporations. They have supply chains that stretch from the chemical factories in China and India, where precursors are made, to the super labs in Mexico, and finally, to these distribution hubs in Chicago. The investigation uncovered that the fentanyl crisis isn't an accident. It is a designed attack, a chemical weapon disguised as a narcotic pumped into the heartland of America to destabilize communities and destroy families. The financial network exposed by the raid was equally sophisticated. Money collected in Chicago wasn't just driven south in trucks. It was laundered through shell companies, real estate deals in Miami, and offshore cryptocurrency exchanges. The cartels were using the American banking system against America itself, turning drug profits into legitimate businesses like trucking fleets and nightclubs. We are tracking the names of the high-ranking officials and corporate entities linked to this financial network. To stay updated on who is exposed next in this ongoing war, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. The raid also uncovered a disturbing link to the border crisis. Among the seized documents were internal communications showing how the cartels were using migrant flows to mask their shipments. They were overwhelming the Border Patrol with human waves, creating a diversion to slip these massive industrial loads through the cracks. But perhaps the most chilling discovery was the war supply chain.
It is not just a border crisis. Officials say it is a coast-to-coast cartel takeover. Federal agents in Portland, Oregon.
In Houston, a convoy intercepted as part of the surge was found carrying hundreds of military-grade firearms, AR platforms, 50 caliber rifles, and conversion kits hidden beneath crates of produce. These weapons were heading south to arm the cartel's private armies that would use them to protect the very poison being sent north. The surge proved that this is not a crime problem. The betrayal, officers in handcuffs, it is a national security threat. The cartels have built a state within a state. And until this moment, they operated with near total impunity. But as the 5,000 suspects were processed, the agents knew the hardest battle was yet to come because the enemy had one final line of defense: the corruption inside the U.S. government itself. As the dust settled on the operation, the headlines across the country focused on the staggering amount of narcotics destroyed. But for the agents on the ground, the most chilling moment of the surge wasn't finding the 8,818 pounds of fentanyl. It was seeing who was standing on the other side of the handcuffs. In the processing centers, amidst the thousands of cartel soldiers and logistics managers, there were faces that didn't belong. There were men and women wearing uniforms. The investigation revealed that the network had penetrated deep into the American justice system. County sheriffs, border inspectors, and even federal officers were taken into custody. These were the people sworn to protect the country. They had taken an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But blinded by greed and compromised by the cartel's endless supply of $200 million in cash, they became the enemy. They sold their badges. They sold their honor. And in doing so, they sold out their own communities.
Over a ton of the synthetic opioid, enough for more than 20 million doses and worth nearly $400 million, was seized in Sinaloa, a region long linked to cartel operations.
The betrayal was systemic. In El Paso, a Customs and Border Protection officer was charged with waving through trucks carrying narcotics, using his federal authority as a shield for the cartel. In Arizona, supervisors were found burying trafficking cases to protect donors linked to shell companies. The arrogance of these officials was shattered the moment the FBI arrived. The badge that once protected them became the evidence of their treason. As they were led away in handcuffs, stripped of their authority, the message was sent loud and clear. The war has changed. The threat is no longer just outside the walls. It is inside. But this dark revelation also carries a beacon of hope. The system fought back. The surge was not just a victory of firepower. It was a victory of integrity. For every corrupt officer who took a bribe, there were 10 honest agents who refused to look away. This operation happened because brave men and women in the DEA, the FBI, and the military intelligence community worked in silence for months, gathering the evidence needed to cut the cancer out of the system. They proved that the institutions of this country are still strong enough to police their own. The declaration of these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations has unleashed the full power of the American state. The Pentagon, Northern Command, and Homeland Security are now operating with a unified purpose. The era of treating these groups as mere criminals is over. They are being hunted as insurgents. The surge was a historic strike, but it was just the beginning. The 5,000 arrests and the seizure of $200 million in assets have crippled the cartel's immediate operations, but the fight for the soul of the nation continues. The line has been drawn. America does not retreat. It does not bow to fear, and it certainly does not tolerate traitors who poison its citizens for profit. The lesson from Chicago is clear. Evil does not need permission to grow. It only requires good people to do nothing. And in this moment, good people stood up and fought. Now the question turns to justice. These officials betrayed their oath and facilitated the poisoning of thousands of Americans. Do you think a law enforcement officer who works with cartels should face the same penalty as a terrorist? Should they receive the maximum penalty possible? Comment on the maximum penalty below. This is the reality of the war we are in. Stay vigilant.